Roll call.
Councilwoman Schwalbenbauer,
She is ill this evening. She called. She will not be able.
Councilman Taylor,
Here.
Councilman Whalen,
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan. Here. Councilman Ziprich,
Here.
Councilman Inkster.
Here. Sunshine Statement, please.
Let the minutes reflect that in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting has been provided by notifying the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, the Star Ledger, and by placing a notice on the bulletin board and filing same with the Borough Court on January 1, 2017.
Thank you. There's only one workshop item this evening that I'd like to follow up on with the council. And it's something which our planning director, Glenn Carter, as well as members of the council had been made privy to the latter part of last year, but the original proposal was a little bit more encompassing. The council is aware that the state amended the local housing and redevelopment law to permit non-condemnation development in certain parts of municipalities to address continuing economic challenges and competitiveness in the regional marketplace, and also to provide incentives for quick, expeditious, and clean development. Again, it is not an eminent domain issue because it is all voluntary and relies upon property owners and/or interested parties to effectuate redevelopment of properties, which in our case would encompass properties that have a housing stock that are in excess of 50 years old. And the initial map that was promulgated with respect to the entry level of Red Bank last year was a map that had rather broad parameters that included substantial parts of the west side. The current proposal with the planning director, which is here for your consideration in terms of only introduction, would include the entry level to Red Bank along Riverside Avenue and Front Street to English Plaza, Monmouth Street down to the train station, and parts of Front Street from Bridge Avenue to the English Plaza corridor. A map is provided, but this map is substantially reduced from the original map that was introduced. The only thing the council is required to do at this point is, if it agrees that we have to look into areas in need of rehabilitation, this is an entire area. The rehabilitated area meets the criteria that's been promulgated by the state statute in terms of housing stock and need of rehabilitation. The resolution will refer it to the planning board. The planning board would investigate, get planning direction, and would get reports from its professionals, and thereafter report back to the council as to whether or not the area is in need of rehabilitation. One of the criteria is that some of the properties that could be developed in that area by interested property owners are substantially undervalued in terms of the net effect for the municipality, and do not use the properties to their full potential for the benefit of the municipality. The municipality also has, and I beg to remind the council, a continuing, very strong and very pressing affordable, low and moderate income obligation that has been mandated by the Mount Laurel 1 and 2 decisions of the Supreme Court, and has also been mandated by the new rounds of obligation in terms of affordable housing that the state, through the court system, is enforcing upon municipalities. And frankly, the only way in which many municipalities in Monmouth County have been able to deal with that obligation is through cooperative agreements in areas that have been designated areas in need of rehabilitation, so that the process can be expeditious and can be creative to provide incentives for the municipality. So, if the council agrees with the resolution is on the agenda this evening, and it will be Resolution 17-107, which says that the task of reviewing shall be sent to the planning board for review, for hearings, and also for reporting back to the council. So that's what I have for the workshop. It's something which frankly needs to be done. And based upon our financial picture, the reliance on single-family and two-family households to support a budget is misplaced in Red Bank's age right now. It can't, the single and two-family households cannot support the services that have to be provided, and also the pass-along costs that have to be provided. Okay?
Mayor, I know
Discussion.
Councilman Taylor had raised a concern about this not having gone through his committee yet. So I would, and I think Park will agree that it be referred to committee before any action be taken.
I don't have any problem with that. The only thing I would request, and again, I was under the impression that the code committee had already reviewed it. By the way, there's no legal requirement that the council committee review it. We've done it as a matter of courtesy, but the only request that I would have is that the committee meet before the next council meeting, so that the progress will be continuing, and so it can be referred immediately to the planning board as soon as the code committee, assuming it grants a favorable report. But in any event, again, it's a courtesy that we do to the committee. It doesn't have to be, I have no objection to referral to the committee.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilman Zimmers, for pointing that out. We simply just want to have an attempt to look at it. I know the last rehabilitation plan that came through was to discuss at length about the process, and I just want to make sure we're starting the process
Yeah, that's fine.
at the outset and doing it correctly.
Yeah, like I said, I'd just like to meet before the next council meeting so that the resolution can be adopted and sent to the planning board right away.
We will do that.
Any other discussion? Okay, so what are we going to do with the resolution then? Okay.
Motion, I'll make that
Well,
motion.
yeah, there are people here, so the public comment, I don't think it's going to be a long council meeting. Public comment will entertain it because we may want to hear from them. And then when we get to the resolution, I think we can address it. Okay? That's the only thing I have for workshop. Anything else? If not, approval of minutes for April 26th. Motion? Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. No mayoral appointments. Report mayor and council committee members. Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Friday, we had our Cinco de Mayo party at the Red Bank Primary School. I wanted to thank North of the Border, St. Anthony's, the Red Bank Public Schools, and also our Parks Department for all the help with our Cinco de Mayo celebration. The teachers and the kids did an amazing job with their dances, songs, and presentations. This Saturday is the mother-son brunch. We've included breakfast, a red carpet, special photo, and special guest heroes from the police department, fire department, and high school athletes. That'll be at the senior center. The spring art show is going to be listed for May 20th at Riverside Gardens Park. All kids from age 5 through high school are invited to submit their work for that. And also Memorial Day will be May 29th. The ceremony will begin at 11 at 51 Monmouth Street with the Elks Lodge as an indoor location. We welcome youth donations and participation from our local organizations that want to be involved. We also have choirs and students participating as well. Local veteran and Red Bank Elk Sergeant Scott Lewis, who is also an Elk member, will be our keynote speaker. Please call Parks and Rec for any info regarding Memorial Day or any other events that we just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed?
I have no other report, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Barbara Boas and Debbie Marks for leading the effort to a very successful Mayor's Charity Ball. It was a pleasure to work with them on the committee, and the event was really wonderful, and I think everybody had a great time.
Including the mayor?
Including the mayor. And the all of the honorees that were present, I think enjoyed their honorarium and the kind of words that the mayor expressed to them for their community involvement. On Sunday, Council President Corrigan and Councilman Yingstrom and I attended the Pizza and Pasta for a Park event at B2, which was very successful. It was put on by the Monmouth Conservation Foundation as they have partnered with the borough to raise money for Sunset Park. They do have an Ocean First Charity Challenge that they're participating in, which is a crowd rise, which is donating any amount of money to the cause, and you can do that by going to crowdrise.com/Monmouth-Conservation-Foundation-Ocean First Challenge. and donate. Right now, they have raised $5,160 since Sunday. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Kathy.
I just want to mention again that the library is celebrating its 80th anniversary on May 20th. The public is invited. There will be a reception. Everything is free. It starts at 12, goes until 3, pardon me. And there are walks. There are guided walks of Red Bank. There will be the reopening of the history room. And the bookmark winners will also be presented, I believe, at that day as well, downstairs in the children's area. So please come out and support your library and have some fun at the same time.
Thank you, Kathy. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I'll keep it pretty brief. The parking committee met yesterday afternoon. There's no update yet. We're still pending litigation. Our goal, the park committee's goal, is to release the RFPs as soon as we can. We are missing information from each different developer, still working things out with the attorney, and we are advised not to release them yet, but the goal of Councilman Yingstrom, Councilman Zubrich, and myself is to release them to the public as soon as we can. Also had a great time at the Mayor's Ball, and as always, just want to thank the cops and fire. Do a great job as always. Thanks.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. The Environmental Commission is full steam ahead with our efforts to renew and recertify Red Bank as a sustainable Jersey town. We have been a bronze level participant. We are striving for silver, which is the highest level. We met last night with the Green Team, which we reformed, which helps give us some points towards our certification. And we have some really eager and excellent volunteers, and quite a few of them actually. So one participant commented this is the biggest Green Team she's ever seen. So I just want to highlight Cliff Keene, our supervisor, director, sorry, of Department of Public Works, who's at the meeting and offered his office's support and let us know that they're already doing quite a few things that will help us get to that level that we're trying to get to. And I think that's, number one, it's excellent that the borough is being proactive with environmental issues, especially in public works. And thank you, Cliff, for your participation and ongoing support in that. So we will meet. We have a June 4th deadline to submit our application, the projects, the plans that we have in place, and then we have a couple more months to achieve them. And so there'll be a lot of information, a lot of activities and events happening throughout the summer and fall to get to that level. Also, the Environmental Commission met last night, and we were able to, special events, but it's on the resolution or further down the agenda tonight. The Red Bank Electric Car Day is May 21st from 12 to 3 p.m. right here at Borough Hall. We're going to highlight our charging station and generally make people more aware of electric vehicles, their impact on the environment, and the ability to how easy it is to obtain them, how you can find them. We have 2 corporate sponsors, Circle BMW and George Wall Ford, are bringing vehicles down for people to test drive and check out. And there's also an electric vehicle owners club that will be here, so you can get first-hand experience from owners of those same vehicles. Code has a rehab plan on their agenda. We will get that back to the council soon as we can.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you for that, the Environmental Commission's electric car owners. I did get approval last night from the group to participate, so I will be there and looking forward to seeing it. Also, isn't ChargePoint involved in your efforts?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that. ChargePoint is a maker of charging stations for electric vehicles, both commercial and residential. With the hopefully pending parking structure that may go in, one of the requirements or one of the suggestions the Environmental Commission made was that they have environmental electric charging stations. As part of that, we would like to use every resource available to us, and ChargePoint is coming in as well to have representatives on hand so people can get more information about charging stations.
Can you preserve 2 little cars that are electric, maybe convertibles for John Bowers and I? The smallest ones we've got. I want to thank all of you for participating Friday night. It was truly a sold-out event, and it was a good evening for 2 wonderful charities that are local charities, and shows what community can do put together. So thank you. I appreciate it more than you know. Communications and petitions, requests from Metrovation to install graphics on a construction barricade to be located at 200 Monmouth Street. It's a great opportunity. We're going to approve it, so.
You want me to come on board?
Oh, well, yeah, but make it quick.
Oh.
We liked what you did the last time. We didn't want to.
Brought paper and everything.
I know, I told you not to.
Okay. Well, yes, any questions or anything? We're
No, we can-
really excited to start the project and get it.
What I wanted to say, Chris, is we have so much confidence in you and in Metrovation that we'll be happy to listen to you, but it's a wonderful idea. We
Okay.
love creativity.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're really looking forward to getting it
I was
going.
busting your chops.
Okay.
Go ahead. You want to pass it out?
Yeah, yeah,
No, it's really wonderful. Just pass it out.
okay.
He was trying to give him a night out with his daughter and his wife, but he didn't listen.
Just want to follow all the rules, make sure, yeah. Are there any questions? We're excited about getting the project going.
When can you start?
We are in for permit with the building department. John Barker is reviewing it. We've been answering his questions. And we're just about ready to order the fencing. And this is our hope to kind of cover the fencing so that we can create a little excitement over there on that side of town and show that something's happening, some rendering.
We like the color, we like the message, so any other questions?
I can't wait to see it. I think I was on the zoning board when it was approved like 10 years ago.
Yes.
So I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition. It's going to be great. Bob Sickles going to have his market there as well.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
he is. Yeah, he's very excited about it.
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Done.
Thank you.
Request from Red Bank Charter School to hold the following events: spring dance at Red Bank Senior Center on June 9th, graduation ceremonies at Riverside Gardens June 13th, and welcoming picnic at Eastside Park on September 6th. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Request from St. Anthony of Padua to hold its procession on the Feast of St. Anthony on June 10th. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Request from Count Basie to hold their annual summer gala on June 23rd. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? And last but not least, this is extraordinary, and I want to thank River Center, Mr. Scavone, and also my friends at the New Jersey Symphony. And request from River Center to use Marine Park on Sunday, July 2nd for a concert performance from 8 to 10:30 p.m. by the New Jersey Symphony, subject to final approval by the Special Events Committee and also final clearance by the New Jersey Symphony. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to begin the process of doing a number of events around the 4th of July. Motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes. Request from Corey Kolombinski for membership in the First Aid and Rescue Squad. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And request from Indy Street Film Festival to install a mural at 75 Layton Avenue, copies of which have been provided to you the weekend of July 7th through the 9th with the permission of the property owner. And to block off Catherine Street from Layton Avenue and Shrewsbury Avenue on Friday, July 7th. And on Sunday, July 9th, which events will be reviewed by the Special Events Committee. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? And we already did the request for Metrovation. Yeah. We did that. Request from the Red Bank Environmental Commission to hold an event highlighting electric vehicles on May 21st, pursuant to the report of Councilman Taylor. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
I think we have someone here, Mayor.
No, yeah, I was just from the Indy Street Film Festival, so I wanted to make sure there wasn't
Oh,
any
yeah.
questions about anything.
We're happy with it.
Okay,
You did a great job last year. We
Yeah.
look forward to the next
Perfect.
one.
I told the same thing I told
Yeah, no, I
Chris.
just making sure I don't want to speak out.
Have a drink. Yeah. Yeah. It's all, yeah. Any members of the public have any comments on ordinances or any agenda items on resolutions? I know that there's been some discussion of the resolution regarding the area in need of rehabilitation, which is Resolution 17107, and although it seems like the council is going to defer that to the next meeting for a formal recommendation by the committee, if members of the public are here and wish to be heard on that, we'd love to hear from them. Mr. Bowers?
The resolution that is in front of you, or will be in front of you, I don't know how to work this.
It's working fine. It's working.
It basically allows Red Bank to become, not to become more modern, but to become in a position where it's more sustainable. I've been in Red Bank a long time, and there's no secrets that the borough is strapped for money or goes from year to year with tight budgets. Some decent or good development, like Chris Cole's doing, or other people have done, would take the pressure off the budget, bring more people into Red Bank, and just make it a nicer place. Not that it's not nice now, but there's always room for improvement. So I hope that you can look at the resolution. I've met with several members of the council. There's safeguards because it goes from the council to the planning board back to the council. So there's many times, if you don't like what's being presented, it can be stopped. But thank you for bringing it up, Mayor, and I hope the council can act affirmatively after they've investigated it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Hack?
Good evening, Stephen Heck, 135 March Avenue. I have a question about 17105 and a comment about 17108.
Okay. What's your question on 105? I'll try to answer that first.
Okay. The first paragraph is not clear to me. In 1997, a 60-year lease for parking spaces was executed with two 20-year options. Is that a total of 100 years then? Is that 60 years plus two 20-year options, 40 years? Is that 100 years? Well, there's a lease on 41 spaces, and then there's an additional lease on 30 spaces. I'm talking about the lease on the 41 spaces. There's a total of 71 spaces.
One of those is for 60, and one of those is for 20 renewal.
No, that isn't what it says here. That may be the case, but what it says here is that one of them is for 60 with two options for 20, and one of them is for the 30, one of them is for two 20-year leases. My question is one, what is it that we've leased? How much money are we earning? And should these leases be continuously, should we opt into these renewals continuously when our parking inventory is in such jeopardy?
Okay. The answer to your question is that the leases are based upon the prevailing rate of parking, and they go up appropriately every time that there's a parking fee change. So they are based on market conditions, and they automatically increase based on market conditions. These leases, if I recall correctly, because I was on council as a council person, were instrumental in initiating, and Mr. Cole was here, he remembers, and Mr. Herman would certainly remember, the revitalization of downtown Red Bank. They were instrumental in making sure that Merrill Lynch, Smith Barney, as well as all of the other financial houses were able to be leasing spaces in new redevelopment areas in Red Bank. And the only way that those investments could have been made was with the assurance of parking. So multi-million-dollar investments which ultimately turned downtown Red Bank around were made predicated on that assumption. And I think that those particular institutions are still here. And so this is a commitment that was entered into back then. It was the only way we can get the agreements going. But the residents are not subsidizing. We're actually getting paid for those spaces.
What are we getting paid? How much revenue do we realize from?
The CFO knows, I don't know that.
There
Yeah.
are two leases, basically there are two leases in that agreement. The original agreement had 41 spaces, and that was part of the redevelopment, from what I understand, on 55 Rose Street. That it was, you know, to do the whole improvements of the building and bring some jobs.
In 1997.
Yeah, and then the second is 30 spaces, and that's the one that is being reviewed in this. The 30 spaces, they get paid going rate.
And
And that's it, that lease is coming up for review.
The going rate is based on,
It's $1,000 per
$500 for every 6 months. $1,000 a year.
$1,000 per space per year.
Yeah.
And does this make sense? 20
Well, it makes
years,
sense for
20
reasons.
years later?
Yeah, it makes sense for two reasons. Number one,
Okay.
we got them in here, so you can't yank the spaces away from them, because then when their leases come up, they'll say, we want to go someplace else. That's why it makes sense from a business standpoint. From a business standpoint, it also makes a lot more sense, because these, don't forget, are permit spaces. They're permit spaces, which means that if the people are there, they use them. But frankly, after 5 o'clock, those permit spaces are empty.
Well, some of them are available after 2 o'clock, I believe, unless that's going to change.
That's not, as far as I know, going to change, because if you have a contract with somebody, that contract says that that space is yours. It's not New Jersey Transit says if you don't use your permit by 11 o'clock or whatever, somebody else can sneak into it. So I think we have to be careful on that. But the bottom line is this, that after 5 o'clock, everybody parks them, which is fine, which is what we want them to do. So even though we get paid for them, they are useful because they're reserved only during the day. But if it hadn't been for those spaces, I can tell you right now, we would still be drifting in the wind.
Also, Mayor, to piggyback on to his point, Steve, is that while the 40 building's been empty, they're still paying for those spaces.
Yeah.
So we're still receiving that income, and people are paying there at night. And for example, if we decide the permits go up to 1,500 in 5 years, whatever that would be, those are going to change automatically, so we're still going to be getting that from you.
It's an ambulatory lease is what it is. It changes as the rates change.
Okay, and just for clarification, that first paragraph, is that 60 years plus 40? Or is it? It is?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a total of 100 years. So
That's not the subject of this one.
Yeah. That
this
was
is
the
just the
overall
30.
plan.
This is just the
We
30
have 40 more
spaces.
years before we have to do
Right. Thank you. With respect to 17108, which is the Count Basie, I just.
The Count Basie, is that 17-108, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Our attorney has advised us that he just finished the agreement, so although we might be taking action on that, we will, we would have to, my recommendation is that we should go into executive session so we can review the agreement, come back in, discuss it, and then either adopt it or reject it. But we haven't seen it yet, so.
that. I can give you general information, though, if you
Well,
have a particular question.
I do have a question. And the question is, why haven't we been able to negotiate with them? They bring in millions of dollars. They brought in 100,000 more people in 2016 than they did in 2015. They were the top grossing venue in the state of New Jersey last year. So no question that they are a gem. And apparently, when they bring in all those people have been finding places to park, magically. And they fill the restaurants and they find a place to park. But my question is, why hasn't the council been able to come to some agreement with the Basie to make a parking garage or cooperate in making a parking garage part of that development?
The Basie has not been inclined to have that discussion in terms of them funding a parking garage.
Well, I think that ought, I think that ought to be public then.
Well, I think it's, obviously they haven't proposed it, so that means that they haven't, I mean, if,
Well, it's
as part of
public
their
now.
expansion, it's a beautiful expansion, and I support the expansion because it really creates a world-class venue which provides over $17.5 million financial bonus.
And no
to
parking.
Red Bank, but no parking.
Right.
However, you know, we might be able to get some parking out of it, but if the question is whether or not the BASI as an institution would be cooperating in any parking initiatives to provide for their participation in parking, even though they're not going to be building a parking garage, I think that that is a different question. In other words, guaranteed, for example, we have spaces over here that they're leasing, which frankly, we wouldn't have made any money at all, and yet they're paying, and we're making some money from the BASI on a very limited scale. So there are discussions, but if your question was why aren't they building a parking garage, or why aren't they our partner in a parking garage, that's a question that you would have to ask the BASI.
Well, I'm asking the council because these arrangements actually take two parties. So my question is, because I'm not at the BASI now, my question is, you know, as you move forward, can you realize some movement on what you, Mr. Mayor, just suggested, that there may be a way that institution can cooperate?
Yeah, there is a way.
Without building their own garage.
Agreement, yes. But a cooperative agreement would not mean that they would be building a parking garage.
Without building.
But they have expressed their willingness that if we move forward on parking solutions, that obviously the BASI is an integral part of that solution, and they have had limited discussions in terms of what that could be, but certainly would not be building a parking area.
Well, I think those discussions and that concept should going forward should be public, and the public should have some input.
Yeah, and I think it's been no secret, my own personal thought on what the theater does is that they're going to need a parking solution, because frankly, I'm sick and tired of them blocking a lot of the driveways on Oakland Street and Chestnut Street and Pearl Street. All those residents are complaining every Friday, Saturday night. So we have to find a way to get those cars off of those residential streets once a parking solution is found, including Maple Avenue. So those, I mean, they can park on those, but it becomes very unbearable for a lot of our residents on those side streets when it's a busy theater night. These are all practical solutions. So the BASI has never said we're not going to be partnering with you. They just have said we can't build a parking garage. And I respect that, and they're saying we can't build a parking garage, but you know, we're providing not only educational enhancements and cultural benefits to all of our students and residents and people who can't afford to pay for culture, such as young children and seniors, but they're also saying that we'll talk to you about when you get to the stage about what we can do to make it easier for a parking solution to work.
When you bring hundreds of thousands of people into 1.78 square miles, you have a responsibility to cooperate in solving those problems.
And they will.
On March 22nd, when the council met, I asked a similar question, and one of the things that I heard was that the BASI had said, well, if they're pushed, they'll move to another place. That's absurd.
Who said that? Nobody up here said it, I don't think.
Councilman Whalen said it.
Oh, okay. I don't think they're moving if they're investing $20 million on their campus.
My point is that that's absurd, and if you listen to that and you walk away, then you're done. You've shown your hand.
It's a mature discussion we're having, and the discussion, you know, is ongoing, but I just didn't want you to think that the discussion was, oh, okay, we're bringing in 250,000 people, we're going to be building a parking there.
Yeah.
That discussion has never happened.
And
in terms of contributing, in terms of a solution, they have offered to contribute in terms of things that could make it work.
Well, I think the public is entitled to know more about that.
As soon as we get to it, obviously, we're going to.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else? Mr. Forrest.
I was interested in that item you were talking about at the beginning, the plan for
Use the microphone.
redevelopment.
I
And for
would
16
take for
Locust.
the record your address. because-
16 Locust Avenue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was interested in the, I don't remember the terminology used, the rehabilitation or areas in need. I don't see a map or anything. Is it on the web or is there a copy of that available?
There is one available, and it should be over there, but there.
So, yeah, and just, I think it's great that you're starting a process and then we'll have input. Sounds like, thank you very much.
Yes.
It's on the website.
You're more tech proficient than I am, Ben.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Vahid Walker, Wood Allen Place. I just wanted to speak in favor of the rehabilitation resolution, in part because I've been a Red Bank, basically Red Bank's my home since the early 80s. I remember going to St. James and going to McDonald's after school on Broad Street being like a highlight of my day. So we've come a long way since then. But
now you're aging yourself.
But I do also remember after college coming back to Red Bank and buying a house near the corner of Shrewsbury Avenue and Monmouth Street in the early 2000s based on the master plan of 1995, which I thought had great vision and promised to utilize, the obvious disconnect between Broad Street and our gift of a railroad station in the middle of town. We always talk about the parking issues. To me, the parking issues stem from our traffic issues. And why do we have traffic issues? Because everybody is trying to park either at the Dublin House, White Street parking lot, or east. We're doing some great things, and there's great progress around the gallery and whatnot here, but we still have this disconnect. I call it the bridge to bridge between Broad Street and Bridge Avenue, where people they're not inclined to get off of the train and walk to Broad Street. They're not inclined to start their Red Bank experience from point A. And that's because there's no real retail experience. It's not necessarily a pleasant walk the whole way. You have the remnants, the cemetery of an antique center sitting there. It's just waiting to die. There's plenty of opportunity. The iron's hot. It may not always be hot. I bought another house on Allen Place about 3 years ago, a decade later, still believing in that master plan. And I think when the master plan was developed, they would have realized how many gaps would still be evident 20 plus years later after 2 economic major upturns, simply because developers have this. I'm in the construction industry, and when I talk with other people in my industry, other developers, they already know there's a good chance that their initiatives will crash like water on rock before they actually ever put a shovel in the ground. They could obviously run out of funding or any other obstacle. It's not worth their time if they're a big enough player. There's other Asbury's sitting there, Long Branch is sitting there. Other places up north are developing quickly by the Amboys. I just think that we shouldn't always assume that we're going to be trying to pump the brakes. There may be a time where we're just running out of gas, and this is the opportunity to build that bridge. I just hope we push it through.
I appreciate your comments, and of course, that's the whole intent of this, to keep a forward-looking, progressive thought going, and there is still a area that is not connected. But one of the ideas that, I've suggested, you're probably going to be seeing another proposal, which is going to be to have an architectural vision, and we'll be inviting architects to submit RFQs for assisting in that. Because, although we're all lay people, members of the planning board and zoning board do a great job, we still need some architectural enhancements that I think would help in that vision. and it would be borne by whoever the various redevelopers or developers of these properties are. So it's something which we've needed for a long time. We're finally going to get to it. We're going to appoint it. And so we're going to have the technicians that can help us, which is what a lot of the other towns that, you know, I keep on saying, you know, you can't compare us to Long Branch and Asbury Park. And the reason why we can't be compared to Long Branch and Asbury Park are two reasons. Number one, both cities are urban aid districts, which means that they get a big check every single year from the state of New Jersey. We don't get that check. So our budget is what we have to raise in local taxation. And secondly, the schools in those particular districts, and we have a fantastic school, are Abbott districts, and so they get a lot of the funding that enhances a lot of their programs from the state also. So we're in a sort of unique situation. We have a lot of the same characteristics of those particular municipalities, but we don't have the push or the help from the state, especially in terms of urban aid. And so we have to do things on our own, and we're getting around to doing it. Hopefully we'll roll up our sleeves and get it done.
Well, I have to ask, like, without knowing budget details, like the West Elm building or the other development on Monmouth Street. I mean, isn't that a big economic push?
It's wonderful. It helps us. But don't forget, I hate to say this, but we could have had the added infusion of West Elm and the place on Monmouth Street 6 years ago if it hadn't been for litigation that stopped it from people.
Mayor, I'd like to make just one quick point. I agree with what the mayor said, and I appreciate you coming here tonight and saying that. I hope you keep coming to meetings, because for the last year and a half, I think what just came out of your mouth is 90% of it came out of my mouth for every other meeting for the last year and a half. So it's a platform we're proud of, and it's something that we're all trying to build together. So hope you can come and be a part of this as we move forward.
I definitely will, and I think, I mean, the vision was definitely there, and I think perhaps the next step, you know, when I've talked with people before, it's like they know that there's going to be, you know, this council, the planning board, you know, they do a great job of vetting any project. I know just from being in construction, you know, our fire marshals, our construction departments do a very good job of regulating, making sure we're safe and sound. So I don't have, it's like if we let someone's foot in the door, I'm not that concerned that it's going to run wild. Like I said, I remember, I don't think like there's going to be a Sorless situation again where, you know, like get some crazy building like there was in the 70s and 80s in this town. I don't foresee that. Like those days are kind of, and I know that's why the safeguards went up, but I think it's time to maybe like, you know, just release it just a little bit.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to ordinances, there are none. For first reading ordinances for public hearing and final adoption, ordinance 2017-14, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 478 Parks and Recreation concerning public waters, boats, and fishing. Any members of the public wish to be heard on the ordinance? No? Motion to close? Second? All in favor? Aye. Motion to adopt? So moved. Second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance 2017-15 is a bond ordinance amending and supplementing bond ordinance 2015-08, adopted by the council with respect to providing various roadway improvements. This is the road program, and appropriating $1.6 million and authorizing the issuance of 1.533 in bonds and notes for a total appropriation of 1,610 to 2,260. Including $157,321 for United Community Development Block Grant, and an increase in the down payment from $77,000 to $101,000 and change.
So the emergency access road.
Right. Any members of the public wish to be heard on the ordinance? Motion to close?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second? Roll call?
Councilman Ingstrom?
Yes.
Councilman Zimbrich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes. Similarly, bond ordinance 2017-16 is a bond ordinance that amends bond ordinance 2015-10, adopted by the council with respect to the water and sewage utility on April 22nd, 2015, with respect to improvements in the water and sewer utility account. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this bond ordinance? If not, motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Inkster?
Yes.
Councilman Zibridge?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan? Yes. Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes. Thank you. Resolution 17104, resolution by the Borough of Red Bank determining the form and other details of the note relating to construction financing for the Environmental Infrastructure Fund. Motion? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-105 is the resolution that there were some comments on regarding the authorization to enter into an agreement with 55 Broad Street LLC for the renewal of the lease of 30 parking spaces within the Mechanic Street to Wallace Street parking lot. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? 17-106 is a resolution authorizing change order number 4 regarding to Precise Construction Company for the Marine Park and Bodman Place Pump Station. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-107 is the resolution referring to the planning board, a proposed resolution determining a portion of the borough need of rehabilitation as was discussed in the public session, and it's my understanding that there's going to be a motion to table to relist this for the next council meeting for adoption after referral to the committee. Motion?
Motion to table.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-109, a resolution to approve the hiring of Parks and Recreation summer staff. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
No.
You just read the parts.
I read the Parks and Yes. Yes. We're going to do Resolution 17-108. I was going to talk about in a few minutes, but I'll do it now. That is going to be acted upon this evening, but we're going to retire an executive session, so we're going to review it and then come back into regular session. Go ahead.
Just because in case no one wants to hang around until after executive session, I just want to put the general notion out there that the developer's agreement is essentially a formality to Count Basie Theater that was required by the zoning board resolution. The instrument itself, the agreement, does not change any of the terms of the zoning board resolution. It doesn't make them smaller, doesn't make them larger. It's essentially what's already been publicly approved by the zoning board. It's basically a formality that was required by the zoning board of the council. The only thing of note in the developer's agreement that's also in the resolution, but goes one step further, is Count Basie has an overhang that will overhang the public sidewalk by 6 feet. The borough has to grant permission for that to happen. The zoning board and the engineers there don't have any problem with it, and that's a part of that you wouldn't read in the resolution. Otherwise, if you read the zoning board resolution, it's essentially the same thing as the developer's agreement in terms of all terms. In fact, the resolution is attached as Exhibit A and basically says we're going to follow the terms of the resolution, just in case no one wants to hang around for an hour afterwards. And of course, it'll be publicly available. Thank you.
Okay. Resolution 17-110, authorizing contracts for the purchase of police vehicles. Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-111, authorizing the approval of sidewalk cafes. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 17-112, at the request of the Chair of the Finance Committee, that resolution should be tabled. Is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no proclamations. I did. Kathy, oh, okay, but yeah, Kathy, yeah. No problem.
I got everybody off track.
Yeah, you got me up track. No problem. Okay, resolution 17-109, is that resolution approving hiring Parks and Recreation staff. Motion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that was a contentious one. Payment of vouchers be it resolved by the Mayor and Council that the bills be paid on the attached check register $1,316,632.07. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Any old business? Any new business? Audience? Mr. Powers?
Thank you. I listened intently Steve Morris, and Count Basie chipping in to help the parking. My daughter Samantha just came late to the meeting, but a typical problem that we have, I mean, Count Basie is a blessing to Red Bank, no questions asked, okay? But when they don't get in here to park because we have this council meeting tonight, the parking lot at the city center is full. That means there's very few customers because the customers are over here at Count Basie. They park at Schwab, that's no problem, they're closed at night. 13, 15 spaces, 64, 68 White Street, they park there, no problem. When those places get filled, they park over there. While they bring in millions, they also have some negativity. So there's no reason in this world that they can't chip in and help ameliorate the problem of the parking. And I'm sure that the 7 people up here can figure a way to have them chip in and try to ameliorate the parking problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Stone.
Fred Stone, 16 McLaren Street. Just wanted to thank the council for passing the bond resolutions, which will enable the construction of the emergency path to the primary school. It's a project that's been 25 years in the making, and we're very excited to see it finally happening for the safety of all our students. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Fred. It has been a long time in the coming, and I think this is something that has been finally cobbled together. I wanted to thank the Board of Education for their participation in the effort to make it a reality, and we look forward to getting it done. It'll do a number of things as a matter of public safety by increasing water pressure, which will feed the hydrants, the complete water circulation through that whole portion of the neighborhood. So it'll be a good thing. Plus, in the event of an emergency, there'll be a roadway that will enable the first responders to mobilize and also get the kids and the faculty on the same page. So thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Stu.
Stuart Jensen, 92 McLaren Street, and also a Little Silver resident upcoming. But anyway, still an owner here in town and deputy fire chief. I just want to reiterate the good doctor's comments about the emergency access road. My first year as deputy chief, I was involved with a potential fire and rescue along the Reeds by the water. That whole section runs along the riverbank. And we also had a water rescue 2 weeks ago along a different section of the river's edge. So anything with better access for the equipment down there is an improvement to the safety, not to mention the water supply is going to be improved. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Anybody else? Ben.
Ben Forrest, 16 Locust Avenue. So I just wanted to comment about some of the discussion about the areas in redevelopment. One of the things that as
rehabilitation, it is different.
Rehabilitation. No, please feel free to.
Development, the area need rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's
in the previous discussions on some of these topics, in the smaller areas and these large areas, there's always a contingent of those coming in here and kind of panicky. We're competing against the project in Homedale. We're competing against Asbury Park. We're competing against Long Branch. And it alarms me a little bit. Some of you have lived here longer than I. I've been here 20 years. I happen to own a property in Tidden Falls, which is a much smaller house than I do, and I pay more taxes for it in Tidden Falls than I do here in Red Bank. My kids have been through the school system and have had a fabulous education. Point is that you've all actually done pretty well at running this town. Okay, we're not in a crisis. It's one of the reasons I took some exception to some of the maneuvers around the property that had a fence around it downtown. The property owner chose to do that. Okay. So what I'm saying is that I want a nice, rational look in what's best for all of us here. I mean, there are traffic issues in this town. I don't necessarily want 8-story buildings everywhere. I don't particularly find that thing at the end of Monmouth Street here, the big block apartment building, very attractive myself. I much prefer the one that was done over, I guess it was mentioned earlier.
Station Plaza.
Right. But Red Bank is a great town. I had the privilege of going actually recently to the beer garden in Asbury, and I got to find out how wonderful the parking is there. You know, all the talking about the parking, how terrible it is in Red Bank. Well, it's actually worse in Asbury Park, for those who haven't been there in a while. I had to park halfway in Ocean Grove. And this isn't even the peak of the season. I'm not even kidding. I parked past Main Street in Ocean Grove to find a place to park, to go to the beer garden on a, I don't know, Thursday night or something. Now we lose perspective here, and you lose perspective. You come here with folks who have financial interests. Now I have a financial interest too. I have a house here. I pay taxes. But you hear it's the end of the world. Oh my God! But let's keep some perspective here and remember that people bought properties here. Maybe it worked out, maybe it didn't, but they made a bet. And you're not here to see to it that everybody makes money from their investments. That's it.
Anybody else? Mr. Boyd?
Good afternoon. 365 Sugar Avenue, P.O. Box 2074. Real quick, couple things.
You gotta start with the microphone, they can't hear you back.
A couple things. Mr. Mayor, I know today in front of the lodge, we were standing out there and the borough vehicle came down the street and made a left-hand turn. When he stopped, that truck didn't have no stoplights or either a turn signal. And the car actually had to hit brakes and go around, right there by Westburg. I think some of these older trucks need to be inspected with the lights on, fixed correctly. Even if they pulling the sheet out, they shouldn't be out there on the highway driving that vehicle like that. Accident almost happened today. We were witness for that. The other thing is, it was brought to my attention, I know the bottles and cans go down the foot of Sunset and a big 20-yard dumpster. Aluminum, metal, and plastic, and glass, right, Stanley?
I believe so, yes.
But the understanding I'm getting, the guys have to pull the aluminum cans out of those dumpsters. When people throw stuff in there, they have to get the aluminum cans out and put them in a dumpster on the other side of the gas. And you have two guys down there. One of them have back problems. Had a big lawsuit up in Broadway. He had surgery. He can't be bending over in that container. The other one is an older guy. He hardly can do anything. I'm just saying, do anything down there. I don't think this is safety for these guys to be going in that dumpster and getting them aluminum cans out of there for no reason. And when you're taking them out there to dump them, they all go at one place. And it was just brought to my attention, Mr. Mayor, that they was told to do this. I don't know who told them to do this, but it's unsafe for these guys to do that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Stanley, don't we have a single screen recycling system?
That's my understanding, Councilman, so we'll look into it. And the other question I have is if they're aggrieved by this, they should report their issues to the supervisor and we'll do it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not, is there a motion to retire to executive session to review Resolution 17108? We will be coming back and taking formal action. Second. All in favor? Thank you for coming. Yeah.